What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope your day is going phenomenal, and if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Speaking of such, we are at the hype of Master Duel Season 2, and I'm going to be breaking down the best of the best, the cream de la crop, all the way down to the decks that you should not be playing by now. These will not help you get to that top spot fairly easy. But of course, before I do, if you want to see more Master Duel content, then be sure to destroy that subscribe button. But also be sure to like this video, comment, and share with a friend. You can also catch me on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But with all that out of the way, let's jump on into our tier list, as I have 5 different categories. Tier 1 are the best decks inside of Master Duel. These are the decks, uncontestably, if you play them, you will have an edge over almost every single deck that is being played in this particular meta. Tier 1.5 is on the cusp of Tier 1 and Tier 2. These decks are 100% better than the Tier 2 decks, at least for the most part, but aren't necessarily as good as being a Tier 1 deck. Then of course there is Tier 2. These decks are still fairly fine. They require a very competent player to be able to play inside of the high ranks, as well as Rogue. These decks are the decks that not a lot of players will see coming. Sometimes they can smack the living daylights out of some of the other strategies, but ultimately they're Rogue for a reason. Last and final, we got the, oh no, what are you doing, baby? These are the decks that are so hard to play, I would just suggest you not play them. And I'm not saying that these decks are bad. These decks are really fun to play. I'm just saying that it is a lot harder to rank up and play this strategy unless you're a big brain and know exactly what you're doing. I wouldn't suggest it. Starting off with dinos, where exactly would I put dinos on this particular tier list? I think that dinos are a solid tier 1.5 / tier 2 type deck. Now, keep in mind, we do have MISCELLANEOUSAURUS at 3 inside of Master Duel, guys. So all of your dino plays will be protected from a Nibiru. That is fairly good. All the way until making your EVOLZAR DOLKKA before you make plays. This deck is amazing at cracking boards, just as good as it is at making it. Dino is also future-proof for upcoming formats, as if this is going to follow the TCG and OCG, your opponent's going to start locking you out of special summoning from the extra deck, and Dino doesn't necessarily need an extra deck to establish a board. I gotta say that Sky Strikers are another tier 1.5. Actually, I'm gonna make a bold statement. I'm gonna put Sky Strikers in tier 2. The biggest problem with Sky Strikers right now is that Sky Striker Ace Gregaria is at 1, and I have to tell you, that hurts. There's also Imperial Order still being inside of Master Duel. How does it feel to just automatically lose a matchup because your opponent flipped Imperial Order and you don't have a way to make Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer because it isn't out in Master Duel yet? Regardless, Sky Striker is still a very good deck, and the right player can take this all the way to the top. Moving forward, Adamantimator is another one of probably the best tier 1.5 deck that I have to say. This deck can make some extremely good boards. Block Dragon is still off of the forbidden list. What are we doing here? Is that allows you to search so many monsters from your deck to your hand. And then you still have Union Carrier, which can equip monsters from your deck to your side of the field, namely Block Dragon. And you still have the Buster Lock. Being able to equip Buster Whelp onto your Borrelwood Savage Dragon is kind of ridiculous, preventing your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck. I gotta say that Adamantimator still makes some really big boards and sometimes doesn't even care about Max E. Now, I did say Altergeist in our last tier list wasn't as cost effective as it was good. I have to say that it's still a fairly good deck. It's a good rogue deck, and the right pilot can take this all the way to the top. The reason why I put this at rogue is because Altergeist MULTIFAKER is at 1, and that doesn't feel good. Having one of your most vital pieces inside of your deck being limited definitely slows Altergeist down if you were jumping into the deck, but if you're a master of Altergeist, then of course, you can figure this out. I also have to say that Cyber Dragon is a very, very solid rogue deck. Destiny in Dragoon is banned, and Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer does not exist. With that being said, Cyber Dragon has to figure out other ways to be able to use those extra monsters that they can summon to their side of the field. And I know a spicy live duel that I have coming up for you that you will love using Cyber Dragons. But regardless, it is a very solid rogue deck with the right pilot can take it to the top level. Burning Abyss, I think, is a very solid tier 2 deck. Burning Abyss still has Divine Arsenal of Zeus, it still has Beatrice, it still has amazing cards that allow it to propel it forward, and then through most of the ranks, you can just make BORRELSWORD Dragon plus a Beatrice Lady of the Eternal, and pretty much plow through your opponent. It's also an extremely cheap deck, very good deck, but I think it fails in comparison when you go to the other tier 2 decks we're about to mention, as well as the tier 1.5 decks. Eldritch, I gotta say, Eldritch feels tier 2-ish, to be honest, but Eldritch is going to go to tier 1.5. It has an amazing matchup against Dino. I do think it is better than the other tier 2 and Rogue decks. Unfortunately, players have really got sick of seeing Eldritch in Master Duel. Prosperity is going to find 6 for Prosperity. Oh, Eldritch mirror match, guys. And I'm not gonna lie, so have I. But if you want some really free wins, well, just set 4 back row forehead. Eldritch got you back. The thing about Eldritch is that it has an amazing grind and it can play with so many different packages. You can play a synchro package, you can play a Numeron package, you can play a zombie package. So like if you are a genuine Eldritch enthusiast, you may not be bored, but your opponent may be bored of seeing your deck. Pendulum is a solid tier 2 deck. I gotta admit, Pendulum requires the hugest brain, probably one of the hugest brains in order to play. The problem with that is not only does it require the hugest brains, it also doesn't always give you the results that you want. I understand Heavy Metal Flow's Electromite is at 2, and that is huge, but Astrograph Sorcerer and Chronograph Sorcerer, some of the easiest ways to get into Electromite, are limited inside of Master Duel. On top of that, being able to make your board is awesome, but know that you don't necessarily have the cards to be able to come back inside of the game because, yeah, some other decks can make boards just as scary as Pendulum without using your entire hand. On top of that, Pendulum decks cannot really afford to play a whole bunch of hand traps to stop your opponent. So if your opponent decides to Dark Ruler no more, you break your board, then at least you play Pendulum, right? Earth Machine is another rogue deck. I gotta accept this from now on. It is a good deck for the people that know how to play it, but Maxi inside of this meta definitely does suck. I would even have to go as far to say that maybe just pure Machina might be a very decent option, probably even a better option over Earth Machine. But if you're playing the strategy and you get Maxi, it does feel like the worst thing ever, as you can't outgrind your opponent. You'll give them too many resources to just outright beat you. Madolche is a extremely, I want to say Madolche is tier 1.5. I think a lot of players are sleeping on Madolche, but I'm going to go ahead and put it as a tier 2 deck. Tiramisu allows you to shuffle cards back inside of the deck. That is huge. Sometimes getting rid of the opponent's threat and sending it to the graveyard isn't the end of the world. They can bring it back in other ways or use its graveyard effects, but Madolche Queen Tiramisu pretty much prevents that from happening. Also, this deck can OTK you very fast and doesn't necessarily need hand traps to push through your board. Madolche is an incredible tier 2 deck, and with the right pilot, oh yeah, it's going right to the top. Heroes just might be the strongest character deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! I gotta say, Heroes are way more than solid. That Masked Hero Dark Law is incredible. Being able to banish all cards going into the graveyard, and then Destiny Hero Plasma, one-sided skill drain. The problem with Heroes is that I feel it is a better going second OTK deck, as while you do establish those cards, and it's a nice board, cards like Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler No More, and Forbidden Droplet do exist, which can pummel your board as they go through for game. This is also a deck that feels really awkward to play cards like Maxi inside of, because you play cards that you don't want to draw inside of your deck. And if somebody does decide to take the Maxi challenge and get the hero, well, good luck drawing that Vision Hero Vion, the Vision Hero Increases, the Destiny Hero Militias, the Dark Callings, all of the cards you really don't want to see, which makes this a little bit less desirable to play. Still a good deck, just a little less desirable to play. Drytron is easily the best tier 1.5 deck in here. Being able to summon Herald of Perfection. I know people that have quit Master Duel because of Herald of Perfection. That's kind of ridiculous. But seriously, having Eva at 3, Benton at 3, and Herald of Perfection inside of this format is starting to get ridiculous. Actually, I can go ahead and say that this deck is a tier 1 deck. And moving on to Orcus, I feel that the right pilot has to be able to play Orcus. If this deck isn't piloted by somebody that knows what they're doing very solidly, you could easily mess up and completely lose the game. This requires telekinesis for a player to be able to play ahead of time in order to be able to play this deck properly. Paleozoic is another rogue strategy, which unfortunately, while totally awesome, is limited to 1, and that doesn't hurt Paleos that much as they can recycle totally awesome. That's not always what you want to recycle. Sometimes you want to get that Swap Frog. Sometimes you want to get that Dupe Frog. Sometimes you even want to get Ron and Toad into your hand. Whatever you want, that option being taken away from you hurts. And then also cards like Lightning Storm, a card that almost everyone has access to. Harpy's Feather Duster, back row removal, really hurts the Paleozoic strategy. Prank Kids are another solid tier 1.5 deck. I love that this deck is extremely cheap to build. It's also fairly powerful. The biggest problem with this is that Mystic Mine does not exist. Mystic Mine would make this deck incredible, as you could bait your opponent's negations, Mystic Mine them, and then go through with your entire Prank Kids combo. Admittedly, Maxi does hurt, but sometimes you can just OTK your opponent through the Maxi and it does not matter. Rocket Dragon Link. Unfortunately, this requires big brain, big Jane players to be able to operate. This is a fairly good deck, but again, unless you know what you're doing, this is like rocket science for a particular player. Same thing with Solomon Great. I gotta say, Solomon Great is extremely fun, and especially through the low ranks. All you do is make access code talker and you win the game, which is really ridiculous. The disparity that you can make with just this deck, especially with how good it is, especially when you get to the high ranks. But unfortunately, again, it does take a player that knows what they're doing with Solomon Great in order to compete. Phantom Knights, I'd have to say, is a solid 1.5 deck. I have to say that Phantom Knights are a lot better, especially when you have number 86 Rongo on your side of the field. There's also a Tempo combo with this deck. There's so many ways to make Exceed monsters just ridiculous inside of here. It's kind of crazy how Phantom Knights can still be able to play even without their power cards, which means it's kind of scary. Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer is bound to just put this deck over the top. And of course, Verte Anaconda with the artifact Scythe may be really powerful in themselves. Thunder Dragons, I think we can safely say that even with Thunder Dragon Colossus at 1 or 2 or whatever it is, it's still just a solid tier 1 or tier 2 deck. Thunder Dragons require the utmost respect for, because they are a deck that is combo oriented, board breaking oriented, but sometimes you just get what, a Maxi, and that sucks because you know you can't survive without playing through your combo. Tri-Brigade is easily, oh my god, almost every single variant is tier 1. Almost every single variant. Hell, you could play Melfi Tri-Brigade and pretty much get some free wins. The reason why is because nothing for Tri-Brigade has been restricted, and this is one of the newer strategies inside of the set. Being able to search Tri-Brigade Fractal with a Fire Formation Tenki, both of those cards are at 3 inside of Master Duel. That is, oh, that's really good. Take me back. True Draco, I feel, is rogue, guys. Unfortunately, True Draco's rogue didn't get as far as I wanted it to be. Card of Demise is at 3. All of the True Draco cards are at 3. Skill Drain is at 3. And this deck still does need more help. Now, the fortunate thing is that this deck is extremely cheap. So if we're talking about cheap to competitiveness, I mean, it can get you there. But you definitely have to learn the ins and outs of the True Draco strategy. Virtual Road is another one of those tier 1 decks. True King of All Calamities has not been banned, which is ridiculous. This card completely prevents your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Virtual World also makes Virtual World QB Shinshin, which a lot of decks have to fear because of banishing cards in the graveyard. Virtual World is easily a monster of a deck that can continue to play even after its board is broken. Zombie World, I have to say, is rogue. The best way to play this deck currently is just to play the Outledge version. So if you're playing a pure Zombie World version, I almost want to put you in, oh no, what are you doing, baby? Because you are playing the deck not to its fullest potential to get to the highest bracket. Regardless, being able to activate Zombie World against some of the top meta decks can win you some games, so there's that. Then there's pure Zodiac. That's a solid tier 2 deck. I have to say that the best variant of this is like Tri-Brigade Zodiac. And Zodiac by itself is just really good. Unfortunately, Divine Arsenal AA Zeus is at 1. If it was at more, we'd probably be looking at this deck different. Blue Eyes is our first. Oh no, what are you doing, baby? I have never seen a Blue Eyes player win a game. I have never seen a Blue Eyes player win a game. I have never seen a Blue... We have streamed at least... we've streamed a ton of times, and we've seen a ton of Blue Eyes decks. They've never won. Not a single one of them, and it's crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's a solid rogue deck. Maybe it does need the right player playing Blue Eyes, but it's kind of ridiculous that I've never seen Blue Eyes win, and it's sad, because I want Blue Eyes to do better. Code Talkers. Code Talkers are a solid tier 2 deck, and the reason why is because of Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. Being able to give your opponent a Nightmare, Corrupt, or Ibly, which will prevent them from being able to use Nibiru on you. Perfecto. I gotta say that this deck is phenomenal, especially because the Zoomers don't like Link monsters. So you give them a full U board and then give them the Ibly, and then they can't Synchro, Fusion, Pendulum. They can't do anything. It's kind of depressing sometimes, but it could get there. Dark Magician actually is better than Blue Eyes. I think we have to face it. I'm gonna put it in Rogue, obviously, but it is better than Blue Eyes. Dark Magician is better than Blue Eyes because it's a more consistent deck. It's really unfortunate like this. You would hope that when Konami gives Blue Eyes support, they would give Dark Magician support equal to it to make them both viable, but no. For the longest, Dark Magician has had better support. Dark Magical Circle gives you a constant form of banishment. There are more search cards for Dark Magician. This is obviously the poster child. Yugi gets all of the love, and Kaiba kind of just gets whatever's left. It's better than Red Eyes players, though. Red Eyes players, they don't even know what they get. We still don't know what the deck does. Is it an equip deck? Is it a ritual deck? Is it a fusion? I don't know. We really don't know. Moving forward, we got Galaxy Eyes. This deck's depressing. So I'm not saying don't play Galaxy Eyes, but don't play Galaxy Eyes. The biggest problem with Galaxy Eyes has always been the exact same thing. You spend your entire hand to make 2 to 3 disruptions. And if you get Maxied or Nibiru, unfortunately, Galaxy Eyes not only requires a dedicated Galaxy Eyes player, it requires way too much effort to pilot. I'm not saying that this deck is bad. I'm just saying for the competitive ladder, you're at a severe disadvantage. And then lastly is going to be Utopia. I gotta say Utopia is Rogue. Reason is because you can use XYZ change tactics and then you can replenish your hand, unlike Galaxy Eyes, meaning if your board breaks, you can still do something good. Also, Utopia Lightning, Utopia Double, those cards are amazing. They get really strong and can one-shot your opponent if under the correct circumstances. Utopia has some pretty insane combos, some really good boards, and using Zubba and Go 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 and Do Do and all those other cards are definitely what makes Utopia pretty good as a rogue deck with the right player. And that is all that I have for the Master Duel tier list. Please let me know which strategies did I miss. Did I rank your strategy a little bit too low, or did I rank a strategy too high? It's all good in the hood, as I hope you do enjoy my analysis on this Master Duel format. And if you want to catch me on stream where we're gonna eventually come across a Blue Eyes player winning or a Galaxy Eyes player proving me wrong, then catch me on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can also check out these videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.